I knew the roast was burning long before Dad noticed. The smell was sharp, like metal and time, cutting through the silence that hung over our table. Mom sat across from me. Perfect posture, glass of Chardonnay balanced just right between her fingers. Rain scrolled through her phone, smiling at something that wasn't here. Dad cleared his throat. So, your company still hasn't promoted you. I set down my fork. They're restructuring. He chuckled without humor. That's what people say when they're stuck. Mom's voice slid in, soft but surgical. You've always had trouble finishing things. May, maybe you're afraid of success. I pay my rent. I pay yours, I said quietly. Rain looked up. Wait, what? Mom shot her a glance. That's not the point. No, I said, feeling the old heat crawl up my neck. That's exactly the point. Dad leaned back. Watch your tone. You don't get to lecture us when we're the ones who gave you everything. Everything. The word echoed. I'd covered their mortgage for 6 years, paid Rain's tuition, fixed their cars. And somehow, it never counted. I tried to breathe evenly. You didn't give me everything. Dad, you just handed me the bill. His jaw tightened. Don't start with your dramatics. You've been a disappointment since the beginning. Always too cold, too stubborn. Mom interrupted, her voice low and final. You've been a mistake since the start. The sound of the clock filled the room. Tick, 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 Rain whispered. Mom. But Mom didn't stop. We tried to make you better, May. We really did. Sometimes I think it would have been easier if you just... She hesitated, then finished. Never existed. The words didn't hit like thunder. They landed like snow, quiet, final, heavy enough to bury everything underneath. I reached for my coat, buttoned it one slow movement at a time. The chair legs scraped the tile when I stood. Dad's voice rose. Where do you think you're going? I looked at him, then at Mom. Both of them waiting for me to cry, to plead, to fix it like I always did. Instead, I said, you don't have to worry about me anymore. Mom frowned. What's that supposed to mean? I met her eyes. It means I'll stop existing for you. And I walked out, no slam, no tears. Just the sound of the door closing behind me, soft as mercy, final as goodbye. The rain started before I reached the end of the block. It drummed against the windshield, a steady rhythm that filled the space my family's voices had left behind. My phone lit up on the passenger seat, 15 missed calls, then 19, then 31. By the time I crossed the bridge out of Portland, it was 39. I pulled into the parking lot of a Target just outside Tacoma. The lot was half empty, rain pooling under the dim orange lights. The engine hummed. I stared at my reflection in the rear-view mirror, eyes red, jaw tight, still waiting for the next command that would never come. Another call came in. Dad's name, then Mom's, then Rain's. I let them ring until the phone went silent again. I opened my banking app. 2 scheduled transfers glowed on the screen. The first monthly mortgage payment on my parents' house. The second, Rain's tuition at California State. Both under my name. Both automatic. I hovered over cancel. For a second. I heard Dad's voice from earlier. You've been a disappointment since the beginning. Mom's too. We wish you never existed. I pressed cancel. Then again. The screen went blank. No confetti animation. No confirmation sound. Just gone. The quiet felt heavier than the rain. I turned off the ignition, grabbed my coat, and stepped outside. The cold hit fast, sharp in my lungs. Across the parking lot, a young couple laughed as they ran toward their car, holding one umbrella between them. I watched until they disappeared. My phone buzzed once more before dying completely. I didn't turn it back on. I didn't go home. I drove until the roads blurred into one long stretch of gray, until silence finally answered for me. By morning, my phone was a graveyard of missed calls, 94 total, 22 voicemails. I sat on the edge of my bed, thumb hovering over the screen. The first message was Dad, his voice still thick with anger. "You think you can just walk out? You'll come back when you realize what you've done." The next was Mom, half tears, half fury. "We didn't mean it that way. You always twist things. You've always been too sensitive." Then Rain, her tone bright but brittle. "May, you're overreacting. Mom's a mess. Dad's pacing. Just call." Okay. I deleted them one by one until silence took over. At work, no one noticed the shadows under my eyes. I smiled, answered emails, adjusted ad copy for a real estate client. The office smelled like burnt coffee and printer ink. It felt like another planet clean, predictable, safe. During lunch, Rain's name flashed again. I almost ignored it but pressed play. "You can't just cut us off," she said. "The tuition payment's due in 5 days. They're panicking." Her words scraped something raw inside me. I remembered the day she accidentally deleted the Venmo record showing I'd covered her rent for 2 months. The time she told Mom I'd ruined her birthday because I couldn't afford the restaurant they wanted. I typed a reply, then erased it. I didn't owe anyone an explanation. By 4 o'clock, another voicemail arrived. This time, Mom sounded tired. "We gave you everything we had. May, you're being cruel. Cruel." That word settled deep, heavier than the rest. I looked at the gray city outside the office window, lights flickering on as rain thickened again. I locked my phone in my drawer. I didn't want their voices following me home tonight. When I finally left the office, the street was quiet except for traffic hissing through puddles. For the first time in years, no one expected me to fix anything. The emptiness that followed didn't feel peaceful. It just felt real. The call came 2 days later, while I was sorting invoices at my desk. A woman's voice said, "This is Evergreen Bank. We're contacting you about the Ellison mortgage. The last payment was declined." I felt the air leave my lungs. "It's not my account anymore," I said. She paused. "Your name is still listed as guarantor." I hung up before she finished. By the time I got home, the messages had doubled. The first was Rain, crying. "They're saying the house could go into default. Mom hasn't eaten. Dad's drinking again. Please, May, just fix this." The next one was quieter. "Mom," her voice shaking. "You don't understand what this is doing to us. I thought you cared." I poured whiskey into the chipped mug I used for coffee. Let it burn down my throat. The apartment smelled like detergent from the laundromat below. I sat on the floor and replayed every word in my head. Fix this. Always that. When I finally called back, Rain answered on the first ring. "May." "Thank God. Listen, we can figure this out if you know." I said. She went still. "No. What do you mean?" "No, I mean, I'm not fixing it. Not this time." I heard her breath catch. "You can't just abandon us. They'll lose everything. Then they'll finally understand what everything costs. May, please." Her voice cracked. She's not herself. Neither am I." I ended the call. Outside, rain hammered the windows like it wanted in. My phone kept buzzing Dad this time, then Mom, then Rain again. I turned it face down, watched the screen glow against the table until it went dark. In the silence that followed, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I was emptied out, hollow in a way that almost felt like peace. Somewhere across the city, my parents were pacing, shouting, blaming. Our house was unraveling, brick by brick, payment by payment. And for once, it wasn't my job to hold it together. The voicemail came late on Thursday afternoon, just as I was shutting down my computer. Mom's voice, small and shaking. "You wanted independence. Congratulations. You've destroyed us with it." I deleted it before she finished. The office was nearly empty. A few monitors still glowed blue in the dark. I grabbed my coat and walked out before I could think about it. Outside, the rain had started again, thin, cold, insistent. I drove without a plan, just the sound of tires slicing through water and the steady hum of the wipers, the city lights smeared across the windshield, gold turning to gray. By the time I reached the intersection at 23rd and Hawthorne, my phone was lighting up again. Dad this time. I let it ring, then rain, then Mom. It was strange how quiet the world felt when everyone was yelling for me through a device I could ignore. The light turned red. I stopped, hand resting on the gear shift, eyes unfocused. A song played on the radio, something soft and slow, a melody I half remembered from childhood. For a second, I thought about turning back. Then a flash of white filled my vision. The sound came next, metal folding in on itself, glass raining across the dashboard, my head snapping sideways. Silence. Then sirens. I was upside down when I opened my eyes. The world swung slowly, like a pendulum. My seatbelt bit into my shoulder. A woman's voice outside screamed, "Someone call an ambulance!" I blinked. My phone had landed somewhere on the floor, still buzzing faintly. I could see Mom's name glowing through the shattered screen. When the EMT pulled the door open, the rain hit my face like cold needles. "Can you hear me?" he asked. "Yes," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. "Can you move your legs?" I nodded. He cut the belt, pulled me out. The air smelled of gasoline and wet asphalt. In the ambulance, he asked my name, date of birth, where I was headed. I couldn't answer the last one. At the hospital, the lights were too bright. Machines beeped softly. A nurse cleaned blood from my temple, her hands gentle but efficient. "You're lucky," she said. Another few inches and that truck would have hit the driver's side dead on. I laughed once dry. Broken. "Lucky." She smiled faintly, not understanding. When they handed me my phone, the screen was cracked beyond repair, but the notifications still came through. 112 missed calls, 2 voicemails. The first was Mom. "May, please, they said you were in an accident. We're coming. Just stay there. Please." The second was Dad. "I didn't mean it. Any of it. I don't care what it takes. Just don't leave us like this." The nurse asked if I wanted her to let them in. I shook my head. She didn't argue. She just placed the phone on the tray beside me and dimmed the light. When she left, I lay there listening to the rain against the window. Each drop sounded like a voice I'd already heard too many times. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel angry or strong, just tired. Tired enough to wonder if disappearing might finally count as peace. When I woke, the room was dim, humming with machines that sounded steadier than I felt. My ribs ached each time I breathed. Someone had drawn the curtains halfway, letting a thin slice of morning light cut across the sheets. A nurse appeared beside the bed. "You're at Evergreen Memorial," she said softly. "You were in a collision yesterday. No broken bones, just bruises and a mild concussion." She asked if I wanted visitors. I said no. She nodded, leaving her hand on the rail for a moment before she left. The phone on the table blinked with a cracked screen. Still alive. I pressed the side button. Notifications flooded up the glass. 112 missed calls. I listened to the first voicemail. Mom's voice trembled so hard I barely recognized her. "They said you were hurt. We're on our way. May, please answer. Please." The second was Dad. I didn't mean it. Any of it. "Just let us see you." I locked the phone again. The messages kept coming, but they were all noise now. A knock startled me. The door opened slowly, and Rain stepped in. She wore a hoodie inside out, her hair tangled. In her hand, a small paper bag from the vending machine. She didn't speak until she sat down. "They're outside. Mom's crying. Dad hasn't slept." I stared at her. "You shouldn't be here. She set the bag on my table. I brought you crackers and a soda. I'm not hungry. She nodded, eyes glassy. I know. I just didn't know what else to do. Silence filled the space between us. Then, quietly, she said, I used you. My breath caught. She looked down at her hands. I let you pay for everything because it was easier. I told myself you didn't mind, that you were stronger. I didn't defend you when they went after you, and I should have. Her voice broke. You carried all of us, and I just let you. I wanted to say something sharp, to push her back into the guilt she'd earned, but the words didn't come. Instead, I said, you were a kid, Rain. I'm not anymore. She looked up. They're scared you'll never come back. I'm scared I might. She blinked at that, like she didn't know what it meant. Neither did I. Not really. The nurse knocked again, checking vitals, giving us a reason to stop talking. When she left, Rain stood. I'll tell them you're resting. Don't tell them anything, I said. She hesitated at the door. I'm sorry, May, for everything. When she was gone, I stared at the paper bag on the table. Inside, the crackers had crumbled. The soda was still cold. For the first time in years, someone had shown up without asking for anything back. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something close to air. By evening, they said I could be discharged if someone came to pick me up. Rain volunteered before I could answer. She texted, They're waiting in the lobby. They won't stop pacing. I changed into the clothes she'd brought from my apartment soft pants, a sweatshirt that still smelled faintly of detergent. My ribs protested each movement, but the ache grounded me. When I stepped into the waiting room, everything stopped. Mom looked smaller than I remembered. Dad's hands were clasped together like he was praying. He stood first. May, he said, voice raw. We're just glad you're all right. I didn't answer. Mom took a step forward. We should have never. Her words stumbled. We didn't mean what we said. Dad cut in. I was angry. You've always been strong, so I thought he stopped. Eyes wet. I thought you could handle it. I pushed because I figured you'd survive it. You always did. The words hit harder than any insult. For once, they weren't defensive, just broken. Mom swallowed. I hated how much you reminded me of myself. The stubbornness, the way you hold everything in. I hated it because I couldn't fix it. Because I couldn't fix you. I was never broken. I said quietly. She nodded, tears streaking her makeup. I know that now. Dad took a slow breath. We leaned on you because you never complained. We made you our foundation and blamed you when it cracked. We were wrong. I looked at them, two people stripped of all the armor they used to wear. The silence stretched, heavy but different this time. I'm not coming home, I said finally. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Mom's lip trembled. We understand. I just need space. I continued. And you need to learn how to stand without me. Dad nodded. We'll try. For the first time. There was no guilt in his tone. Just effort. Rain appeared by the door, keys in hand, watching us with red eyes. I picked up the hospital bag, still holding my torn jacket inside. Let's go. As we walked out, Dad whispered something I barely caught. Thank you for still being here. I didn't look back, but I heard Mom exhale, a sound halfway between grief and relief. Outside, the air smelled like rain and asphalt clean. Almost new. Rain drove us back to my apartment in silence. The city blurred by in shades of gray and gold, the kind of light that makes everything look softer than it is. Her hands gripped the wheel, mine rested in my lap, tracing the edge of the hospital wristband. When she parked in front of my building, she didn't turn off the engine. They're not going to stop worrying, she said. I know, but they're trying. May. They really are. Trying doesn't undo years, I said quietly. She nodded, biting her lip. Still, it's something. I opened the door. wincing as my ribs caught on the movement. Before I stepped out, Rain reached over and touched my arm. "You scared me," she said, "more than I expected to. I scared myself." I admitted. Inside. Everything was exactly where I'd left it. The coffee mug with dried rings at the bottom, my jacket, torn from the accident, draped over a chair. The quiet felt less like punishment now, more like proof that I'd made it back. I took out my phone newly repaired and scrolled through unread texts. Dozens from Mom and Dad, short ones, simple ones. "Hope you're healing. Let us know if you need groceries. We're here. No guilt, no begging, just words, waiting." I left the messages unopened and called the number Dr. Hale had given me before discharge. She answered on the second ring. "May Ellison," she said. "I was wondering when you'd call. I think I'm ready." I told her. For therapy? For everything? The next afternoon, I sat across from her in a small office filled with quiet colors and one ticking clock. She asked me what I wanted from my family now. I said, "Maybe nothing." She tilted her head. "Nothing can be a beginning, too." When I got home, I opened the window for the first time in months. Cool air slid through the room, stirring the dust on the sill. For a moment, I let it in. Just air, no expectations attached. A week after I started therapy, the phone rang during lunch. The caller ID said Evergreen Bank. For a moment, I almost ignored it, thinking they'd made another mistake. The woman's voice was polite, familiar. "Ms. Ellison, I just wanted to inform you that the Ellison family account is no longer linked to your name. The borrowers have resumed direct payments. 2 successful transfers this month." I blinked, unsure if I'd heard right. "They paid it themselves." "Yes," she said. "They requested your information be removed from all guarantor records." When the call ended, I sat there, staring at the phone. No trembling, no relief. Just a quiet shift somewhere deep inside, as if a rope that had been pulling tight around my chest had finally gone slack. Later that afternoon, Rain texted, "Started my new job at the coffee shop near campus. They gave me extra hours. Tuition's handled." Proud, I smiled before I could stop myself. I typed back, "Yes, I'm proud." Then deleted it and sent only, "Good." Dr. Hale noticed the change the next session. "You seem lighter," she said. "They're paying their own bills." I told her. She nodded. "That must feel different." "It's not forgiveness," I said. "It's responsibility. It finally belongs to them." That evening, I made tea instead of pouring whiskey. The apartment was quiet, except for the hum of the dryer below. I scrolled through my messages again. Mom had sent a photo the family dog curled up on their couch with the caption, "He misses you." Dad's came later, short and steady. "Made another payment today. Hope you're okay. No demands. No guilt. Just proof." I stared at their words for a long time before setting the phone down. For years, I'd begged for an apology that sounded right. What I got instead was action unremarkable, practical, but real. Before bed, I wrote a note on a sticky pad and pressed it to the fridge. "You don't have to fix them to love them." It wasn't a rule, just a reminder. The air in the room felt lighter when I turned off the lights, like something finally unclenched inside the walls. 2 weeks after the accident, I agreed to meet them for lunch. A neutral place, a cafe downtown with too many windows and too few secrets. They were already there when I walked in. Mom was stirring her coffee, though it didn't need it. Dad sat stiffly, both hands wrapped around a cup he wasn't drinking. Rain waved from the corner, her smile unsure. I took the seat across from them. The silence was thick, but not sharp anymore. Dad spoke first. "You look better. I feel different," I said. He nodded like he understood, though I wasn't sure he did. Mom cleared her throat. "We've been working on things." Her voice trembled on the word working. She looked at Dad. then back at me. He sold the boat. I blinked. You sold the boat, Dad exhaled. We used the money to pay off part of the mortgage. We'll handle the rest ourselves. Something in his tone, calm, not defensive, made me believe him. I'm proud of you, I said quietly. He smiled, a tired thing that didn't quite reach his eyes. We should have done that years ago. Mom reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. I started therapy too, she said. Every Wednesday. Sometimes I talk about you. What do you say I asked? That I confused silence with strength, she whispered. And that I turned my shame into your burden. Rain looked between us. They're trying. May, all of us are. I nodded. I know. For a while, none of us spoke. The waiter refilled water glasses, the clink of ice breaking the quiet. Finally, Dad reached into his coat pocket and slid a photograph across the table. It was me at 17, fast asleep at the kitchen table, surrounded by college brochures and a calculator, on the back. In Mom's handwriting, you've always carried more than you should have. I'm sorry. I traced the edge of the picture, feeling a slow ache spread through my chest. I don't forgive you, I said softly. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Dad nodded. We're not asking you to. Mom's hand trembled as she reached for mine. We just want to meet you again. The person you are now. Her touch was light, hesitant. I didn't pull away. When lunch ended, we stood outside together. The air smelled faintly of rain and espresso. Mom hugged me first, quick and clumsy. Dad followed, one arm, careful not to press against my ribs. Rain squeezed my hand. See you soon, maybe, I said. One step at a time. They left together, their figures small against the city traffic. I turned back toward the cafe. One of the tall windows had swung open in the breeze, letting in a slice of light. For a moment, I just stood there, breathing. It wasn't forgiveness, just air. But for the first time, it felt like enough.